Okay. Make sure it's recording. All righty. There we go.
Hi. Okay.
So you get a private private presentation today.
Good.
Okay, so I put together this presentation on winning the wealth game because I see that a lot of people feel intimidated when around money and around finances. So I try to look for ways to make it more relatable. And to me, it's kind of like a game where you have to know strategies and the rules and everything like that. So that's what I'm presenting today. I want to present it how it relates to games. So let's see. So if you stay to the end today, and it'll be hard for you to leave since you're the only one here, there's a special secret prize for people who are watching this live and watch it to the end. Okay, so there was a survey done. 5,000 people took part, and they were asked why money was important to them. What do you think some of the answers might have been to that question? And
For a better life.
For a better life, okay.
To buy things that are luxury items.
Okay.
Pay bills.
Bills, yeah.
Yeah. Just to survive, I think.
Okay. And if they were to ask you what was important about money to you, what would you answer?
For me, to do the things that I would like to do, extra things. I mean, it's not, if I had the money to just cover my expenses, and then I would take, I would like to have extra money so I could be more comfortable and not worry about where the next penny is coming from. So, and do the things that make life more enjoyable.
Yeah, okay, good. So this is what people answered. 82% of the people said living the lifestyle I choose, and that's sort of one of the things that you were saying. So it was a lifestyle thing. And then, so these numbers are going to look, some people say, oh, but 82 and 50 adds up to more than 100%. They were able to answer more, give more than one answer. So that's why you'll see some of these numbers. So 50% of the people said they wanted money to be able to, so they could travel when they want to.
Right.
39% said that they wanted to be able to leave something for their heirs. 34% wanted to be able to afford to buy a home. And 14% said start a business. That's what I did when I sold my first house. I used the money to start a business. None of these were in the top 5. None of these were the top 5 answers.
I don't know.
So the top 5 list. What's important about money? These are the top 5 answers that got the most people said. So number 5, ensuring that my savings don't run out.
Okay.
Number 4, having enough money for medical bills if I become sick. That's a bigger issue nowadays than ever.
Right.
Number 3, having enough money to get by. That was another one that you mentioned early.
Right.
Number 2, having good health insurance. And that gets more and more expensive.
No.
And the number 1 reason, drum roll, can't do a drum roll here. Number 1 reason, what's important about money for people? Having a steady monthly income. And you can see why that would be important for a lot of people. Even in retirement, you want to have a steady income coming from somewhere so that you can relax, because otherwise you're in constant stress.
Right.
And this is interesting. The percentage of women worried about going broke and becoming a bag lady. 56% of single women worry about that. 43% of married women worry about that. 55% of divorced women worry about that. And 48% of widowed women worry about that. And even in houses where the household income is more than $200,000 a year, 27% of the women worry about becoming a bag lady. I think that's a secret nightmare for a lot of people. I actually met a woman once who survived on cat food. I couldn't believe that was a real thing, but I was working at Starbucks in Woodland Hills, and a lady that was kind of a regular came in for coffee a lot. That's what she told me. She eats cat food.
Oh.
So, are you familiar with the game Monopoly?
Yes.
Yeah,
played it when I was a child.
Did you? Yeah, so did I. It had a real strong influence on me because I think that's where I got my my wanting to rent things out. When I was little, my dad used to play with us. We played as a family. And then when we moved from Virginia to Hawaii, I was in 4th grade, and I remember telling my father, "Don't sell the house, rent it, and then we go buy another one in Hawaii." And I was like I was so insistent that that's what he should do, but he said we couldn't afford to buy the house in Hawaii if we didn't sell the house in Virginia. But I think Monopoly is one of those games that's a really good one for showing people how the accumulation of money works, because there's not just rental properties, but there's also the utilities and owning businesses and stuff that's on there. I don't know, I think I should get my kids together and play that game again. When you do play Monopoly, how do you win? How do you win the game?
Well, I was stupid enough. I never won. I guess I wasn't serious about, banking and all that. So a game is a game to me, and so I thought it was just for fun.
Well, it is. But the way to win in Monopoly is to have the most money at the end. In fact, usually it's when everybody else goes broke and one person is left with all the money. And that usually at my house, that was my dad. Always. Yeah. And I think that sometimes he changed the rules to make him win, like kind of like how our government does things now. So
yeah, usually,
go ahead.
Usually I buy too many houses and then I have to sell them,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. I liked buying the houses and piling them up on one property so that you made a lot of money when somebody landed on that property. And then when you got 4 houses, you could trade them in and you get a hotel. Only nowadays, I would get an apartment building if I did that. So in sports too, there's winning and there's losing. How do you win in baseball?
Well, baseball, sports are not my thing. I watch baseball with my husband because, men like sports. But, yeah, we had he had his favorite team, the Cubs. I mean, it was from Chicago, so it was a diehard Chicago fan. Yeah, so it's the Cubs and also the
White Sox.
The Bears. No, he wasn't a White Sox fan. He was Cubby.
My dad was a White Sox.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, my husband's father was White Sox, or his stepfather, and he was Cubs. So there was a definitely distinction between the two. You either one or the other, and there was this. I guess it's like the Angels and the Dodgers. You don't root for both. You just do one or the other. So yeah. I don't know.
Well, in baseball, in all sports, the team that has the highest score at the end wins, right?
Right.
So whether it's runs or touchdowns, whatever the game is, the team with the highest score wins. And the thing about playing board games and the thing about playing in sports is that there's only one winner. Everybody
Right.
else
One winner.
is the losers.
Yeah.
And so the wealth game is different from that. So with the wealth game, how do you think you win in the wealth game? When do you win?
What do I think when I win?
Yeah. Well, what do you think? How do you think it is that, like in Monopoly, you win when you have all the money and nobody else has any? And in sports, you win when you have the most points.
Well, you're joyous, you're happy that you win, but sometimes I think that the happiness is just fleeting, just for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it lasts for a while, but but there's no tangible thing after you win. I mean, so you won the game, so that's it.
So what does that mean
And
when what does that mean when you're winning the wealth game? What do you think that means? How do you know when you won?
I don't know. You're happy when you win it, but then then after you stop playing the game, that's it. You go home, and so okay, so the team won or you won, and there's a satisfaction that you won, but it doesn't last. It doesn't stay with you or provide you with any material things, So.
Well, when you in order to win the wealth game, that's when you become financially independent.
Uh-huh.
So do you know do you know what financial independence means?
Well, then I don't have to worry about where the next check's coming from. I can do what I want without worrying that am I going to run out of funds or anything like that. That's, to me, is financial independence.
Right.
And having a steady income coming in without worrying or working.
Right, exactly. It's when you have an income coming in, passive income that covers all your expenses. So
Right.
you're not actually having to work. It's just everything's just taken care of.
Right.
And the great thing about the wealth game is that in order for you to win, it doesn't mean somebody else has to lose.
Uh-huh.
There can be lots of different winners with the wealth game. And the winning of the wealth game is different for everybody because your expenses, everybody's expenses are different. So it's how much does each person need in order to have their needs taken care of? How much passive income do they need? It's different for everybody because it depends on what your goals are, what's the lifestyle that you want to have, right?
Uh-huh.
So
right.
some people, their goal is to retire in Tuscany with a villa, and other people, their goal is to be able to sit in the backyard with their grandchildren. So
Uh-huh.
there's a big difference there. So have you thought about where you want to retire?
Well, I want to retire right here. I love my home. I always say I'm going to die in this house. I don't need a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I don't want a mansion. I just want to be comfortable and be able to travel. So that's where my goal is, and also give back. Like to go on a mission if I want to, or if God leads me to. Like I did to Samoa a couple of years ago, and every year I go up to the Indian reservation with the church, and just having enough so that I can give back more and not have to worry about like, oh, am I going to be strapped now that I'm giving this much, stuff like that. So
Right.
that's where I would like to be.
That sounds good. Yeah, my parents they had their dream home that they were living in from the time when we moved to Hawaii. The house there that my dad had, he loved that. So they both stayed there till they both passed away in that house.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Why would they move? They lived in a great spot.
Yeah. So
And so, and then it also depends on what you want to do for your lifestyle. And so, like you mentioned, you want to be able to go on missions.
Yeah, if I get an offer, say, my friend would say, how would you like to go here today? And I said, okay, and I'll be able to drop everything and not think about, I have to pay the bills first. And, just do that. And, take a hot air balloon when I was in Turkey, I was able to take the hot air balloon without saying, I don't think I can afford that. Even though you're in a strange country and it might be a one in a lifetime, opportunity.
Sure.
So that's one of the things that, I would like to do more.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's great. Yeah. I surprised my kids on my younger daughter's 21st birthday. I told them we were going on an adventure and I didn't tell them where. And I had arranged for a hot air balloon ride in, what state was that? Utah.
Albuquerque?
Yes. So we drove out to Albuquerque and I had gotten a hotel room ahead of time and I had made the reservations on the balloon. And so they didn't know where we were going until we drove onto the lot in the dark.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, it was one of those sunrise trips. And then we had champagne afterwards and celebrated my daughter's birthday. That was very fun. It's nice to be able to do these kinds of things.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the things, in order to win the wealth game, or to win any game, you have to know the rules. So like Albert Einstein said, you have to know the rules of the game, and then you have to play better than anyone else in order to win. So with any kind of game, you need to know the rules. With chess, chess, you would be so lost if you didn't know the rules and how all those pieces move.
Right.
And that's true of any game. So when it comes to the wealth game, the number one rule is to track your income and expenses, because that's how you can control your money. A lot of people pay no attention and they just kind of spend the money when they have it, and it comes in and it goes out, and they don't pay that much attention to it. And so they end up never really getting ahead because they're spending it as it comes in. And some people spend it before they have it. And then they're always kind of on the downside because they're trying to catch up. And there's like different ways to track your income and expenses. It doesn't have to be difficult. In the old days, everybody used to use their check register. And some people can still do that because the checks still come with the check register, even though people hardly ever use those anymore. But nowadays, more people use their phones to track their money. I come home at the end of the day and put it into a spreadsheet myself. So I have an expense tracking sheet that I use. And this one I developed because I used to, at tax time every year, I would have to lock myself in my office and stay there for 2 weeks while I took all my receipts from the past year and put them into a spreadsheet and figured out what my deductions were for my business. And every year I would try something a little bit different and a little bit different until finally I have a tracking sheet that helps me when it comes tax time now. All I have to do is push a button and sort everything, and it's all nice and ready, and I just give it to this year I was my tax person, but previously I was able to just give it to my tax person. See, I made it so easy for myself now that this past year I did my own taxes, I did my ex-husband's taxes, I did my daughter's taxes. I did everybody's. But I put down when I have the expense at the end of the day, I put down the date, what the expense was, how much it was, who I was paying it to, which checking or savings account I pulled the money from, and then I put down what category it was as far as business or personal. And then since I have several businesses, I list which business it was. And then I put the category, I put either the budget category if it's a personal expense, or the tax category if it's a business expense. And so then you can see how when I do my, at the end of the month and at the end of the year, I organize everything. I do this in Excel so that it organizes first by whether it's business or personal and which business, and then next by category, so that it's really easy to get all the numbers. And it's also good at the end of every month to be able to look and say, so which aspects of my business are making me money and which ones are costing me money? So where should I focus more? What's going to be more important in the long run if I have to stop doing something? So it makes it easier to make decisions.
Uh-huh.
And here's rule number 2, pay yourself first. I'm sure you've heard this before. So
Right.
when you hear pay yourself first, what do you think what does that mean for you?
To put them in my savings account, like 10%,
Mm-hmm.
and that, as it gets, depends on how much it is, then transfer it into a CD or something where it be, doing more interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Although CDs aren't doing very good interest these days, but
Yeah, I know. But sometimes it's better than not having anything at all in like a savings account at the bank, what you call it. Yeah, because you have a checking and a savings. So
right.
I put it in the savings, and then when it gets enough, then I try to, put it in a CD or something. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So.
Yeah, I've even found some savings accounts with credit unions that are paying more than CDs are.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to belong to credit unions, but then I didn't work for the state anymore, so that went by the wayside. And then I should have kept it, but I cashed out. And also when I worked for the hospital, we had the hospital credit union. But then when you quit, you have to, relinquish it. So.
Oh, well, there's other ones that you can use now. There's one called Golden One that's they're based out of Northern California maybe, but you can use any of the ATMs. They're in, like, all the credit unions have this agreement where you can use anybody's ATMs for any of the credit unions.
Oh.
So I'm going to be checking into some local credit unions to find out which ones have the free accounts and which ones give the most interest. Right now I have an account with a bank in the middle of America, so I never go into it. I do everything online, but they have a good interest rate on their savings, and they also have a good interest rate on their checking account. So I'm actually getting like a 1% interest on my checking account, which is pretty good. So it's just a little bit of looking around.
Right.
So now rule number 3 is have a game plan. Oh, I meant to tell you also, when for the pay yourself first, another thing is that I don't know if you keep a separate account for your business and for your personal. It's a good idea to have that. So my business account, what I do, every week I have money transferring from my business account to my personal account. And so before I pay any business expenses, I pay my paycheck to myself. Because when I didn't do that, I was always the last one to get paid when there was money left at the end of the month. And you know that when you're running a business, there's almost never money at the end of the month if you do it that way, because we all we keep putting all of our money back into our businesses. So I pay myself first out of the business income, and then I pay myself first out of my personal income into my savings as well. So for me, that's a double pay yourself first.
Okay.
And then rule number 3 is to have a game plan. So like when the football players are, and there's your husband's team, right? That's the Bears uniform?
Right.
So when they're huddling, they're deciding ahead of time what their plays are going to be. And they've decided ahead of time too in the locker room, knowing what the habits are of the other team, and they make a game plan so that they're more likely to win the game when they have a plan going in. So it's a good thing to have a game plan. And so when you have a budget, that helps you to stick to your game plan, because you make your budget with your final goal in mind, right?
You're right.
So that's an important thing about having the budget. That's part of your game plan.
Okay. Right.
And then rule number 4 is to keep track of your score. So if you didn't keep track in a game, you wouldn't know who was winning and losing, right?
Right.
So with the wealth game, you want to keep track of your score as well. What do you think?
Uh-huh.
Where do you think your score is? What do you think? How do you think you keep track of your score with your with the wealth game?
Well, if you're behind, you're gonna get the more adrenaline to go get further up front. So you want to be first. So yeah. So you have to plan more carefully to get. So you see your track record to see what needs to be done so that you can get further ahead. So yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then another thing that you want to do, there's kind of 2 scores that I look at with the wealth game. One of them is net worth. And net worth is the fancy financial name for what you own minus what you owe. And so when you're figuring out the what you own part, you look at what you own and you count it according to the retail value. So like when you look at your home, it's not what you paid for it, it's what is it worth? What could you sell it for now? And the same thing like with your jewelry, it's what could you sell it for, not what you bought it for. And unfortunately, what you sell it for is a lot less with jewelry than what you bought it for. Hopefully with your home, it's the other way around. Yeah.
Yes, that's so true. I noticed that also when, we've been buying collectibles. I mean, it was fine to pay $33 for a plate. They keep saying, well, in the years ahead, it's going to be worth something. But I find that whatever it's worth, it's not worth anything unless somebody wants what you have.
Exactly. That's very true.
So, as far as the value, it may not be worth as much as what you paid for. So,
right.
Anyway.
Yeah, a thing is only worth what somebody will pay for it.
Right. So.
Yeah.
And so it's the same as our home. Yeah.
Same for the home. Right now, homes are worth a lot in California, in Los Angeles in particular, because there's not enough available. So there's more people wanting homes than there are homes for sale. So that increases the value when the demand is greater than the supply. Old school economics. So so you're looking at how much cash do you have in your accounts, the market value of your home and other real estate you might have, cash value in your life insurance, the resale value of your car, your furniture, your jewelry, your art, your brokerage account, your IRAs, 401ks, and annuities. And then you add up all of that, and then that's your total assets. And then you look at your liabilities is what you owe. So how much do you still owe on your mortgage? And how much do you owe on your car? Do you owe money to any friends or family? Any student loans that you're paying on? Credit cards? That's all the money you owe. And you subtract that from the first number of what you own, and that gives you your assets and your net worth. So the net worth number is one that hopefully is going up every year. So that's one way of keeping score, because you want to see that number keep going up and know that when it's going up, you're doing a good thing. If it's going down, then you have to take a look and say, how do we fix that? And there's ways to boost your net worth. This is where your strategies come in. So your strategies could include savings and investments. So that would be like your IRAs, putting money into mutual funds, real estate, commodities, stocks, deferred annuities, businesses, and life insurance. And a lot of us, because we're business owners, we put a lot of our money into our businesses to increase the value of our businesses. And so hopefully we're looking at that too and thinking about the value of the business is the resale value, right? How much could we get for selling our business? And so that's one thing that we want to keep in mind as we invest in our business. Are we investing to make our business more valuable to someone who might look at buying it later.
Okay, so that's one way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's two parts of it. Just like with real estate, there's how much could you sell it for, but there's also how much can it make for you while you own it.
Right. Okay.
So that's like investment real estate. Lots of stuff is like that. And then rule number 5 is to build passive income. So we want to have multiple sources for passive income. So most of us have Social Security that's going to be coming to us. Some people have pensions. Some people have annuities. Rental income, it can be a source of passive income unless you buy something that needs a lot of work, and then it's not so passive. Royalties from books or intellectual properties, books, art, stuff like that you create. Dividends and interest.
Okay.
And then rule number 6 is understanding taxation. A lot of people don't think about this, but if you had a $10,000 investment and you kept it for 28 years and you were paying taxes of about 25% and your interest on your investment was 7%, and you put it into a taxed investment. Now that would be like mutual funds and stocks. Those are taxed every year. Savings accounts are taxed every year. So in 28 years on that $10,000, you would end up with $41,900. If you put that same money and you put it into tax deferred investments, so that would be like into an IRA where it's growing and you're not paying taxes every year. You're not going to pay taxes until you take it out. And your 401k is like that. So if you had that same $10,000 for 28 years in a tax-deferred investment, you would end up with $49,866. But if you put that $10,000 investment into a tax-free investment for 28 years, you would end up with $66,488. So between taxed, tax-deferred, and tax-free, where do you think you want to put the most of your money?
Of course, the tax-free.
Right. But that's not what most people do. Most people put it into the tax-deferred because that's the common thinking is IRAs and 401ks, and that falls into this category here. So it's good to understand taxation and how that works so that you know when you're investing, what are the tax ramifications, because it can make a big difference. That's a big difference between $49,000 and $66,000. A lot of people don't think about the fact that if you have a 401k with $100,000 in it, you actually have $60,000, right? Because of the taxes that are going to come out when you take it out. And then rule number 7 is eliminate debt, but do it systematically. And you may not have any debt, Dawn, but I'm just going to go through this because some people are going to be watching the replay. And so this might be important for them. But this is like an average couple in the Midwest, and they have some pretty average debts, like their Visa, they're paying $55 a month. They owe $460 on it. They have medical dental that they're paying $200 a month. Discover card, $296 a month. They have furniture that they bought that they owe $237 a month. Their car payment is $417, and their mortgage is $972. That's how we know they live in the Midwest, because if they lived in California, it would be a lot more than that. Yeah. And then we look at their interest rates. Their interest must be pretty good because these are pretty decent interest rates. There's no 23% showing up here. And how many payments they have left, which kind of tells you how much longer it'll be till they're done. So the mortgage looks pretty new because they still have 354 payments left. So that's about 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
So when you add up their debt, it comes out to $179,000, but their real debt is $374,000. Do you see where that number comes from? Why is there?
Yeah. Yeah, the mortgage the interest rate on the mortgage for that length of time, it really,
Yeah,
climbs up.
right. So they're paying
So,
the interest that they will pay on that 179,000 by the time they pay it off is going to be $194,993 of interest. So that's
right.
almost $200,000 just interest, which is more than they owe. So what we show them is, see how they're just paying they're paying $2,177 a month, right? To cover all their debt.
Right.
So I'm going to show you on the next slide. They're still paying $2,177 a month, but we teach them a different way to pay it off. So that instead of paying, everybody has a tendency to pay just a little bit more on every credit card than what the minimum is. But we show them focus on one card first, and that would be the one with the lowest balance. So they on the Visa, they only owe $460, and they're paying $55 a month on that. So what we show them is when they pay the minimum on everything, if you have extra money, pay it to that. And when they get this one paid off, that $55 a month, they're going to add it to the next bill. Whoops. They're going to add it to the next bill, which is their medical dental. So now they're paying, instead of $200 a month, they're paying $255 a month. And then they'll pay it off quicker, and then they'll take that $255 and add it to the Discover card. So now they're paying $551 a month on here. So every month they're still paying the same $2,177, but they're paying each card off, each debt off, one at a time, and moving the money to the next payment, so that ultimately they get everything paid off but their home, and now they're paying that whole $2,177 a month off on their home. So you can see how that would make the home get paid off a lot faster. And in fact, now you see their total payments is 111 payments. So now they're paying the home off in 9 years. So in 9 years, they get all their debt paid off this way. Their interest payment now is only $61,000. So they end up saving a lot of money on there. Instead of $195,000, now they're only paying $61,000. So if they took that $2,177 that they no longer have any debt on after those 9 years, and they kept putting it away into their retirement fund, they would end up having $913,000 in the savings account. Whoops, I keep doing that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right.
So huge difference just by paying off the debt differently. So that's one of the things that we teach people how to do. So this doesn't seem like it's supposed to be here. Oh, okay. So another, it feels like I'm in the wrong place, but let me see. Yeah. So another thing that's good is most athletes have coaches. So why do you think that they have coaches? What's the purpose of a coach? What does a coach do for an athlete?
Well, to keep them straight and narrow so they focus and do the right thing. So that's, when you're exercising, this is an exercise, your form is important. So your coach is there to make sure you're doing the right steps and the right positions and stuff like that. So actually, we always need coaches in everything that we do because we get sidetracked.
And
so
it keeps us accountable.
Yeah. So,
yeah, they're good for and giving advice because they might know a little bit more about the particular sport or whatever, and so they can give some advice and support, encouragement. There's a lot of things that coaches do. So that's one of the things that I do for people. So I help them with, I offer coaching, I do consulting, and I do teaching. And so with the coaching, I work with people like privately, one-on-one, in the same way that a coach would. And I do give advice. I keep them accountable. I help them change their habits. I encourage, I support. I do a lot of different things with the coaching, and that ends up, there's a commitment there of a certain number of months that my clients and I commit to each other to help them reach their goals. Another thing that I do is for people that don't really want that kind of, to make that kind of commitment or to have that kind of a commitment, I do consulting, especially for people that have like specific issues that they want help with. Like I had a friend who was going through a divorce, and they owned a property together, and the husband was going to stay in the house and pay the mortgage. So he felt like he should be getting more of the equity when they sell the house. He should get a bigger amount because he was paying the mortgage down. And so I talked to her and I showed her a chart and showed her that he's getting the benefit of living in the house. She's paying rent somewhere else. So it's not fair for him to say that since he's paying into it, that he should get more equity. And I showed her, I made a chart for her and showed her, if you guys sold the house right now and split the equity, this is how much money you would get. If he stays there for another 10, 15 years and he's paying into it, this is how much equity you would get. Is it worth it? It's not fair to you to have your money tied up in equity for all those years and you're not benefiting and you're going to get less money in the end. So stuff like that. That was like a one-day thing with her. And then teaching. I have a course that's going to be starting up. That's an 8-week course. And we go more into depth, and I show people how to specifically set up the different things that I talked about in this webinar. And offers a lot of the same things as I do with my coaching, but in a group setting. So those are some of the things that I offer. And for anybody who wants to take advantage, anybody who's listening as well, anybody who's watching the replay, you can go to funsexyfinance.acuityscheduling.com and schedule a free 30-minute financial strategy session with me to see if any of those things that I offer would be beneficial to you, and figure out what thing might be best for you and help you most depending on your own goals and where you are in your own wealth game. So everyone's reach should exceed their grasp. And I like this video because it's just kind of showing how as you move out into the world, you get a wider view and a better view. And so since you watched all the way to the end, if you email me at sfabrocini@greatfinancials.com and type in "I made it," you'll get a special gift offered to you. So thanks for watching. And do you have any questions, Dawn?
No, I don't. You know, a lot of things you talked about. I have taken a course in the Peace Financial University.
Oh, yeah.
Through our church. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
Dave Ramsey's
yeah, there's
program.
a lot of steps that you do that, you know, I have been following anyway. So yeah, it's very interesting, and I'm sure you know, people would click in to watch your webinar. They would learn something. You know, everyone needs this, and then it's nice to be refreshed on this, these steps on you know, handling my money, the expenses, and stuff like that. So yeah, I appreciate that, Susie. It was a good webinar.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
We'll see you.
Okay.
Take care. Thank you. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.